They say the world ends quietly, no screaming, no falling stars, just a place where land gives up, where the earth sighs one last time before surrendering to the endless dark below. Tonight, Mira stands on that threshold. To anyone else, this cliff is just geography. To her, it feels like a memory wearing stone. Wind rolls over her like a warning. Cold, clean, and sharp enough to make her eyes water. She lifts her chin and breathes it in anyway, like she's been starving for it. The ocean far below churns like a living thing. White water explodes against the rocks, spraying mist 20 feet into the air before the wind steals it away. Everything down there is chaos, but up here, everything is still, almost reverent. Mira has always felt safer on this cliff than in the world below. Maybe because there's nothing left to hide behind up here. No walls, no lights, no noise. Just her, and whatever she tries so hard not to think about. She steps closer to the edge. Pebbles fall from under her boot and disappear into the raw below. She watches them vanish, feeling the familiar ache in her chest. The one she can't explain, the one that only this place seems to answer. Why am I always drawn back here? She whispers. The cliff doesn't answer, but the wind dust curling around her like it recognizes her voice. For a moment, she closes her eyes and lets the world tilt. She isn't dizzy, not exactly. It's more like her balance isn't hers anymore, like the earth beneath her is shifting to meet her instead of the other way around. The moon is still rising, hidden behind a veil of cloud, but she feels it. Feels its climb, feels its pull. Her fingers twitch at her side, small, involuntary spasms she pretends not to notice. Her breath catches. She shakes it off. Not yet. Not now. She came here early for a reason. Mira wraps her arms around herself as the light changes. A pale silver glow washes over the clouds behind her. The moon is pushing through, impatient as a heartbeat. She looks over her shoulder. A thin crescent of light pierces the grey veil, then widens, brightens, until the full, round body of the moon reveals itself in a slow, regal rise. Something inside her chest tightens. Not fear, not all. Recognition. The first hum begins. It's faint, so faint she could almost blame it on ocean vibration or wind pressure, but it isn't either of those. This hum starts behind her ribs, in her bones, in her blood. She exhales shakily. No, not yet. A breath fogs in front of her. Though the temperature didn't drop, her body is reacting before her mind can catch up. She feels her pulse in strange places, wrists, elbows, the back of her neck, the base of her spine. Her body is waking up. She steps further to the cliff's edge, as if distance from land matters. As if distance from anything living will make her safer, or rather, make them safer from her. The moon finally clears the last cloud, spilling silver light over the entire cliffside. The waves below flash like molten metal. The wind thrusts forward, hitting her with a sudden, wild force that makes her stumble. And then the world goes still, perfectly, disturbingly still. Not the ocean, not the sky. Her heartbeat stops fighting itself. Her breathing deepens. Her muscles relax not out of peace, but out of surrender. The hum inside her becomes a vibration, then a tremor, then something older. Her hands begin to shake again, harder this time. Mira steps back from the edge just an inch, bracing herself as another pulse shoots through her spine. Her knees soften, her vision blurs, her jaw clenches as a warmth rolls down her throat like she's swallowed fire. She grips her own arms, digging her fingers into her skin until her nails leave crescents. She whispers, voice cracking, "Why here? Why always here?" A gust of wind answers by hurling sea spray against the cliff face. Mira turns and startles. For a second, just 1 second, she thinks she sees something etched into the stone. Not carved, not scratched. Burned, ancient shapes. Curved lines wrapping around themselves like vines made of flame. Symbols that feel familiar in the muscle memory, way like a song she doesn't remember learning. The moonlight catches them, and they glow faintly, like embers remembering heat. Her breath catches, her spine arches instinctively, and something inside her chest whispers a truth her mind isn't ready to hear. You've shifted here before, not in this life, but in another. The hum turns into a low internal rumble. Her bones ache in anticipation, and as the moon climbs higher, Mira realizes something with sudden, chilling clarity. She didn't come to the cliff tonight. The cliff called her. The wind shifts before the body ever does. Every old story knows this. Every ancestor she never met tried to warn her. But Mira is only just beginning to understand. She stands there, clutching her arms as if she can anchor herself with her own hands. It doesn't work. The cliffside breeze, normally harsh and wild, goes strangely gentle, almost cautious. It wraps around her like fingers brushing hair away from her face. Her eyes narrow. The wind never behaves this way. A faint whisper curls through it, too soft for language, too deliberate to ignore. It slides past her ear like someone leaning in close enough to speak directly to her pulse. She spins around, heart hammering. Nothing, just dark rock and darker sky. But then there, a flicker. She thought it was lightning at first, but it wasn't. Above her, it was behind her eyes. A stuttering flash, like someone took a memory she didn't have and struck it like a match. She gasps, bracing herself against the cliff's jagged surface, breath shallow and uneven. The wind hits against now, not harsh, not angry, urgent. It sweeps around her ankles, spirals up her legs, coils around her waist, her ribs, her throat, lifting the hair at the back of her neck with a force that feels intentional. Her pulse stutters. This isn't normal, she whispers. The wind answers with a sharp, downward pull that nearly knocks her to her knees. Her fingers clutch the cliff edge to steady herself, but a new sensation blooms under her palms. Heat. The stone is warm, not surface warm, not sun residue, living warm. She jerks her hands back as if burned. What is happening? She breathes. But the wind has already changed again. It no longer moves around her. It moves with her. Every breath she pulls through her lungs seems to carry an extra heartbeat, one not her own. Her skin prickles, her hearing sharpens, painfully so. The ocean roar below suddenly splits into layers she's never noticed before. The crash of the waves, the push of the undertow, the hiss of the spray hitting rock, the ancient rhythmic throb of the tide. It's like the ocean is breathing, and it's breathing in time with her. Her knees weaken. She clutches herself again, but this time her fingertips graze something that shouldn't be there. A raised bump beneath her skin along her spine, then another. Then a line of them, pulsing faintly under her fingers. She freezes. No, not yet. She wasn't supposed to start shifting. Yet the moon isn't even zenith bright. She's always had minutes, sometimes hours, before anything truly began. But tonight, the body is answering something older than Moenris. Another gust slams into her, harder this time, bending her forward. Her back arches involuntarily. A shockwave shoots down her spine, hot, electric, and wrong. She gasps and bites down on her own lip hard enough to taste iron. The wind howls around her in a perfect circle, not passing through, not drifting by, circling her, as if measuring her, as if recognizing her. Her breathing speeds up. Every inhale feels deeper, like her lungs are expanding past their usual limits. Every exhale comes with a faint tremor that rattles deep in her throat. Her knees buckle again. She grips the cliff wall for balance, and the stone hums under her palm. Without looking, she knows. The runes she saw earlier are glowing brighter. No, not glowing, pulsing, in rhythm with the thudding between her ribs. Her vision blurs at the edges. The hum in her bones deepens into a rhythmic tremor, not shaking, not shivering, signaling her spine pops, once just one vertebrae shifting slightly under the skin. The sound is quiet. The pain is not. A stranglet sound escapes her throat, half gasp, half growl. She slaps her hand over her mouth, horrified. That wasn't human. Not even close. Her eyes burn gold, flickering at the edges of her vision. She squeezes them shut, nails digging into her arms as the wind presses harder against her body, as if trying to guide her stance, tilt her head, position her for something. Mira, the wind whispers. She jerks upright. No, no, that was impossible. The wind doesn't speak. She must be losing it. But then it comes again, not from air, not from sky, from inside the gust, like her name rode its currents. Mira. Her throat tightens, her legs tremble, her jaw clenches as another pulse shoots down her spine. Her body is no longer asking her for permission. The wind shifts for the third and final time, a sudden, violent downward gust that pins her hair to her face and slams her boots against the cliff, and the moon breaks free of the last cloud. Silver detonates across her skin. Her eyes fly open. The world goes silent, and deep inside her ribs, something ancient finally wakes up. Pond pushes back. The moment the moonlight hits her, everything inside Mira seizes. Not violently at first, not dramatically, just decisively. Like a switch she didn't know existed has been flipped. Like her blood suddenly remembers instructions she never learnt. Her breath catches. She clutches her chest, fingers digging into her sternum as if she can physically hold everything in place. But she can't. The first crack comes from somewhere deep between bone and memory. Clit tip off her spine jerks forward. Shoulders roll back involuntarily. Her head tilts upward like something is pulling her chin toward the moon. No, no, please, she gasps. Her voice fractures. Her knees wobble. She takes one desperate step back from the cliff's edge, but the stone behind her pulses again, a heartbeat, not hers. The glowing runes behind her flare with sudden intensity, casting distorted shadows across her face. They pulse in time with the vibration building in her ribs. She tries to breathe slowly, tries to calm the shaking, but her lungs stretch painfully, too wide for a human chest. She drops to one knee, a hand slams onto the ground, palm splayed. Her fingertips tingle, burn, then go numb. The wind whips around her, violent and circular, dragging strands of hair across her face like claws. The world flickers at the edges of her vision. The moon is a white-hot halo. Her shadow is stretching ahead of her like a wolf on all fours. Clixie, RAC, K-clicker, spine rises just a few centimeters, but the motion is so sharp she chokes on air. Her mouth opens in a silent scream. Then the second crack hits sharp, loud, unmistakable. Her jaw jolts sideways, cartilage stretching beneath the skin. Her fingers dig grooves into the dirt. Her eyes fly open, one gold, one still human. She gasps for air like she's drowning. Her teeth vibrate in their sockets. Her ribs shift painfully against each other. A low sound builds in her throat. A growl she doesn't want to acknowledge. No, not yet. I'm not ready, but the moon disagrees. It rises higher, silver intensifying, the light hitting her from an almost predatory angle. Every bone in her body seems to lean toward it. Her left shoulder pops, her right shoulder grinds, her clavicle jolts outward. She curls forward instinctively, arms wrapped around herself as if she can hug her human shape back into place. But her forearms have already begun to thicken. The tendons twist. The skin along her wrists tightens, stretching as if something underneath is swelling, growing, pushing toward the surface. Her breathing is ragged, no-wit, uneven, almost snarling. Mira. The whisper isn't the wind this time. It's inside her. Inside the bone crack and blood boil and moon-summoned instinct. It's ancestral, resonant. Claiming her spine cracks, a gain croc sharp enough to echo. Her back arches, like an electric. Current has hit her. Her jaw splits slightly enough to feel, enough to hear. Her teeth thicken. Her tongue presses awkwardly against the roof of her mouth, as if it's already preparing to lengthen. A tear slides down her cheek, but when she wipes it away, her fingertip meets a patch of skin that feels wrong, smooth, hot, and slightly coarse. Her breath stutters. Oh God, it's starting. The wind erupts, blasting against her in 3 rapid gusts. 1, she gasps, body jerking forward. 2, her nails darken, thickening into sharper points. 3, the runes in the cliff ignite behind her, pure white, casting the full shape of her twisting, warping shadow on the ground. Mira's head snaps back, her throat strains, her jaw elongates another centimeter with a wet sound that makes her gag. She collapses fully to her hands and knees, fingers splayed, claws forming by the second. Her breath becomes a growl, not a metaphor. A real, low, vibrating growl she can't swallow down. Her ears ring. A pulse slams through every nerve like fire. And then the 4th crack, not of bone, of identity. The moment where she realizes she isn't fighting the transformation anymore. She's losing to it. Her eyes squeeze shut, tears falling freely as a tremor rolls through her spine so violently she nearly collapses face first into the dirt. She braces herself on trembling arms, panting, shaking, snarling. And then the wind dies instantly. The cliff goes silent. The moonlight feels heavier. Her breath becomes fog. Her bones brace, as if every part of her body is pulling in the same direction down, into the cliff, into the stone that knows her better than she knows herself. A slow dread creeps into her voice as she whispers, "What are you turning me into?" The moon answers with another pulse. The cliff answers with another hum. Her body answers with another crack. And the shift continues. The world holds its breath. Not the wind, not the waves, not the night, the world. Everything around Mira pauses as if waiting for her next breath, her next crack, her next surrender. She stays on all fours, chest heaving, fingers now half claws digging trenches into the cliffside dirt. Her shoulders quake with the strain of holding herself up. Every inhale feels like fire. Every exhale sounds wrung too deep, too rumbling, too animal. For a moment she thinks the wind has died again. Then she realizes it hasn't died. It's watching. A slow, deliberate current curls behind her, wrapping around her ankles like something sentient. The air carries warmth, non-comforting warmth, but furnace warmth. The warmth of something waking up. She forces her trembling head up. The cliff face in front of her glows, not evenly, not naturally, not softly. The runes she glimpsed earlier are no longer faint outlines. They have erupted with stark white light, igniting the stone like veins of fire. Carved lines snake across the cliffside in patterns too ancient to decipher. Circles inside claws, inside spirals. Jagged symbols that look like teeth. curved strokes like fangs. The light pulses, once, twice, a third time, and with each pulse, the spine rises higher an other centimeter of unwanted ascent. No, she rasps. Stop, please, stop. But the runes don't respond to please. They respond to blood. Her blood. She feels it deep in the marrow like the stone is calling her home. Whispering her name in a language her bones remember, but her mind never learned. She staggers upright onto her knees, using her half-shifted hands to push herself off the ground. Her fingers scrape across stone, and the stone reacts. The glowing runes flare brighter wherever she touches, like the cliff recognizes the shape of her palm. Mira jerks her hand back in horror, but it's too late. A vibration echoes through the cliff, like a drumbeat from under the earth, and suddenly the symbols move, not slide, not drift. Move. Lines rethread themselves, twisting into new patterns, while Mira watches, breath caught in her throat. The runes weave into a spiraling, expanding shape like a wolf rising from stone. Its form made of light and dust and memory. Her stomach turns. What is this? She whispers. The stone wolf head stares back at her, and its eyes flare gold. Exactly the gold now burning behind her own eyelids. Mira stumbles backward, heart hammering. Every time she shifts further into Bora, every time she shifts further into a panic, her body shifts further into a wolf. Her shoulder blades bulge beneath her shirt. Her spine lengthens with a slow, excruciating torque. Her jaw clicks again, spreading outward. Tufts of hair rise along the back of her neck like a warning mane. She tries to stand, her legs give out. She tries to breathe, her lungs expand too, wide. She tries to speak, but the cliff speaks first. A low, ancient growl rolls out from the stone, not from the wind, not from the earth, from the cliff itself. It vibrates beneath her knees, up into her bones. Her heart stutters in response. The glowing wolf carved into the cliff opens, its mouth jaw splitting outward in a perfect mirrored reflection of her own transformation, and from that stone mouth a voice emerges. You return. Mira's scream sticks in her throat. She backs away, palms scraping dirt, claws tearing into soil as she tries to crawl backward. Her breath fogs, her pulse roars in her ears. I don't. What do you want? The runes blaze again. Mira flinches as another pulse slams through her chest, doubling her over. Her ribs grind inside her skin, her pelvis shifts. Her breath breaks into ragged half-howl, half-dash gasp. The stone voice deepens. You rise. Her human mind screams. Her wolf mind stirs. Her body answers, dotted another crack. Her knees reverse direction slightly, bending for quadrupedal stance. Her thighs tighten, growing in length and strength. The ground shivers beneath her as the cliff lights up fully, every rune blazing white. The stone wolf shape shifts again, pulling apart, expanding, forming a halo of ancient markings around. A dot the wind stirs, the sea roars, the cliff vibrates, everything aligns. Mira trembles violently, her bones fighting themselves, her skin crawling with heat, a vision flickering between human blur and wolf clarity. The runes speak once more, not with hate, not with welcome, but with inevitability. You awaken. Her throat tightens, her jaw cracks open again. Her eyes blaze gold, her teeth sharpen, her back arches so violently she nearly collapses. She slams her claws into the earth, gasping, shaking, snarling through clenched teeth. The cliff pulses, the moon pulses, her heart pulses, all in the same rhythm. The cliff isn't just answering her transformation, it's commanding it. And Mira, trembling and half-shifted on sacred ground, realizes the truth she's been running from. She didn't come here tonight by accident. She came because this cliff is a throne, and she is the heir. Her bones twist again, her breath snarls, her vision fractures. The runes glow so bright they bleach the world. The cliff speaks for the final time. Rise, she-wolf. The edge is yours. And her body obeys the moment the cliff commands her to rise. Mira's body responds, not with hesitation, not with fear, but with something disturbingly close to recognition. She lifts her head. Her neck cracks first, a deep, sliding shift that runs from the base of her skull down to her shoulders. Her throat elongates by a fraction, tightening the skin. A low, involuntary growl vibrates out of her chestra, guttural, ancient dot. Her fingers stretch forward, palms flattening against the stone. Her nails thicken in real time, darkening to glossy black, curving into lethal points. She stares at them in horror and awe as they fully form, her human grip fading into something more predatory. A gust of wind slams into her back. Not random, not wild, intentional. It pushes her spine upward, and her body obeys. Her vertebrae pop one after the other in a macabre chain reaction, rising in a line of glowing ridges. Her shirt tears down the middle as her back broadens, muscles bulging, tendons tightening like steel wires under her skin. She claws at the ground, teeth gritted, voice strangled. Stow, please. But the wind is unrelenting, swirling around her with purpose, circling her like a deity returning to its altar. Another crack ripples through her ribs. They flare outward, expanding to make room for a chest meant for a predator's lungs. She gasps for air, but the breath that comes out is no longer fully human, deeper, hotter, vibrating her jaw. The moonlight intensifies across her skin, highlighting the shift as it spreads. Her shoulders tear wider, her arms lengthen, her forearms tighten with new muscle, her biceps twist into lupine architecture. Her silhouette no longer resembles a woman on all fours. It resembles a creature becoming her. Jaw is next. It starts with a tremble, a violent shake that runs from ear to ear. She digs her claws into her own jawline as the bones push forward. No, please, I'm not ready. But the cliff is done with her fear. The runes flare white-hot, her jaw cracks. The sound is sickeningly beautiful, a long, wet, grinding break that signals pure metamorphosis. Her teeth lengthen, pushing through gums. Her incisors sharpen, her tongue thickens. Her lips pull back involuntarily, bearing fangs she never had. She screams, but the scream warps halfway through, shifting pitch, rising in tone. It becomes a howl-shaped growl. Her eyes fly open, one human eye, wide and shimmering with terror, the other now fully golden. Wolf bright, predatory, ancient, and the golden eye wins. The pupil narrows, the iris ignites. The sclera darkens at the edges, giving the eye its feral gleam. Her vision sharpens. The world stops blurring. She sees every grain of stone beneath her, every ripple in the cliff walls. She feels powerful, and that terrifies her more than the pain. The wind swirls tighter like it's braiding itself around her spine. Her legs shift next dot, her calves tighten, muscle coiling like springs. Her thighs stretch longer, bones realigning with audible clicks. Her knees contort, bending into a half-full stance. She gasps, gripping the cliff again. Her boots split down the sides. Her feet lengthen, arches rising unnaturally as her toes crack apart. Stretching forward, pads begin to form beneath them. Her balance shifts, her stance widens. Her heels lift. The weight, REDIST RIBUTES. She is no longer kneeling. She is crouching, like a wolf preparing to pounce. A low, whimpering growl escapes her throat. The wind answers with a sharp gust that lifts her hair straight back. Her hair thickens, blending into fur along her neck and shoulders. The texture changes, softening, lengthening, gaining weight. The first full coat of dense wool fur spreads across her back like a storm cloud. Silver, dappled with streaks of moon-pale white. Ancient, unmistakable, regal. The cliff seems to recognize it immediately. The runes flare even brighter, and the entire cliffside groans a deep, seismic rumble that sounds like stone kneeling. Mira lifts her face toward the moon. Her jaw snaps outward another inch. Her ears elongate. Her snout forms with a final, agonizing crack. She throws her head back. Her first howl doesn't come out. Her body isn't ready. But the sound that emerges is a guttural, broken pre-howl. A creature caught between worlds. Her vision blurs again. The world spins. She collapses briefly to the ground, chest heaving, claws flexing, fur shimmering under the moonlight. The wind stops moving because it doesn't need to. The transformation now has momentum of its own. Her spine elongates again, pulling her torso forward. Her shoulders expand past human limits. Her arms stretch. Her legs root themselves. Her hips shift with a violent wrench. Her back arches high. Her neck lengthens into the full shape of a lupin throat. She rises again slowly, trembling, shaking, but she rises taller. The cliff turns silent and reverent. The sky holds its breath. The moon glows brighter. Her body begins to stabilize. Not finished yet, but past the point of no return. The wind brushes beneath her chin, almost gentle now, protective. A whisper inside her bones speaks again. Closer, child. Closer to what you were meant to be. And Mira feels something that scares her more than the pain. She feels agreement. The world rearranges itself around her, not because the forest changes, not because the cliff shifts, but because she does. Mira hovers on all fours at the edge of the transformation, fur thickening across her spine, muscles pulsing in rhythm with the moon, her breath steaming in deep, powerful bursts. Her claws dig into the cliff so hard the stone cracks beneath them, but she barely notices. Her senses have blown wide open. She smells everything: salt from the ocean, wet rock from the cliffside, a rabbit 2 ridges over, a tree branch bending under its own frost a dozen yards away. Every sound is painfully clear. The heartbeat of the earth far below, waves slamming rhythmically into stone. Her own pulse deep, thunderous, no longer human. She hears the wind inhale, and she inhales with it. Her jaw pulls forward again, completing its lupin shape. CR Raklika snout finishes forming, long and powerful. Her lips pull back over, fangs designed for tearing. Her nostrils flare, catching scents she didn't know existed. A low, rolling growl emerges from her throat, bidden, natural, inevitable. Her golden eyes narrow, vision slicing through darkness with terrifying clarity. The world doesn't look different. She does. Her back rises higher as the final vertebrae lock into their new positions. Her spine curves into a predatory arc, built for speed and violence. Her shoulders broaden, fur rippling with every breath. Another gust of wind hits her, but this time she doesn't bend. She absorbs it. Her body braces claws, digging deeper, tailbone elongating with a final, sharp crack. Her balance shifts, her weight redistributes. Her chest expands with a new, enormous lung capacity. Her breath roars out of her like steam from a furnace. Then, slowly, deliberately, she lifts one clawed hand from the stone. The world holds still. Her arm trembles only, slightly, as she raises herself, muscles engaging one by one, fur brushing against the cold air. Her other hand follows, her claws retract slightly, controlled, instinctive. Her legs straighten, her spine raises. Her silhouette grows taller, larger, heavier, commanding. She transitions from all fours to a crouched half-stand, panting, trembling. And then she stands, fully upright, full height, full presence, a towering she-wolf silhouetted against the moon. Fur silver with streaks of ancient white, eyes burning gold like twin lanterns of feral judgment. The wind stops, the forest kneels. Even the moon seems to brighten in recognition. Her breath fogs upward in slow waves. Her ears pivot to every sound within miles. Her jaw hangs open in a low, primal snarl, yet somehow still carries the shape of who she once was. The cliff below her glows brighter, runes flaring like the heartbeat of a god waking up. She takes her first step forward down to the cliff, thrums beneath her, paw welcoming, honoring, claiming the earth doesn't shake because she's heavy. It shakes because it finally knows who is walking on it. She steps again, stone cracks, wind coils, the air temperature shifts around her, colder behind, warmer in front, pushing her forward like nature itself is clearing a path. The transformation eases now, no longer violent. Fur fills the last gaps along her ribs. Her tail snaps fully into place, her muscles finish tightening into the perfect blend of strength and grace. She inhales deeply, and the moon hums in response. Her mind sharpens, her human fears dim, her wolf mind rises. But beneath the instinct, beneath the bloodline awakening, there is still Mira, and she feels everything. The cliff that called her, the stone that recognized her, the wind that shaped her, the moon that awakened her. She lifts her face upward and lets the moonlight hit her fully. It washes across her fur, causing an almost supernatural gleam. Her eyes close, and when they open they are brighter than before. She is no longer transforming. She is transformed, a predator reborn, an heir crowned by stone and star, a creature of cliff, wind, moon, and memory. Her chest expands with a deep inhale. The moment hangs there perfect, suspended, inevitable. Then she arches her back, tips her head toward the sky, opens her jaws, and releases her first true howl. It tears through the night like a blade made of sound. Raw, powerful, triumphant, lonely. Ancient waves crash harder. Trees tremble, birds scatter from miles away. The cliffside itself glows brighter, runes syncing with the howl like an old ritual reawakened. Her voice echoes against mountains she cannot see, carried across the world like a proclamation, I am. And somewhere deep inside her chest, Mira the human Mira whispers back, I know. The she-wolf lowers her head, breath drifting in a long plume of white fog. But the transformation isn't finished. Not truly, because the cliff hasn't claimed her for nothing. It has something left to show her, something she must face, something waiting below, something the wind calls the world beneath the world. The cliff vibrates beneath her paws, not from instability, from recognition, from reverence. From memory, the runes glow like veins of moonlight in the stone, pulsing in steady rhythm with her heartbeat. Every breath she takes sends a ripple through the rock, as if she and the cliff are fused, one creature with two bodies. She steps toward the edge, a soft crunch of stone under her claws. The wind, which had been fierce and demanding, turns suddenly gentle. It circles her like a slow, reverent dance, lifting the fur along her arms and shoulders. The she-wolf tilts her head as the breeze brushes past her snout, warm, almost tender, as if it's saying, It's time. Her golden eyes glow brighter as she looks down at the world beneath her. The ocean crashes against jagged rocks hundreds of feet below. Moonlight strikes the water, turning the waves into rolling silver fire. The spray rises in shimmering arcs. From this height, the world looks small, and she has never felt larger. A tremor rolls through her legs, not fear, not hesitation, but the primal knowledge that she is standing where countless she-wolves stood before her. A sacred place, a testing ground, an altar, a throne. She inhales deeply, letting the salt fill her lungs. The cold doesn't bite her now. It bows, her ears twitch, her tail lowers, her claws flex against the stone one last time. The moon grows brighter still. A low vibration echoes through the cliff. She lifts her head in instinctive response. A voice not human, not wolf, not anything she has words for whispers through. The wind, leap, daughter of dusk. Her breath hitches, not from surprise. From recognition, she was always meant to leap. Her hind legs tighten, muscles coiling with supernatural strength. Her chest expands, her claws dig deeper, preparing for the push. Her heart beats once heavy, decisive. Twice slewed her, a third time, and the runes flare white-hot beneath her. Pause. She crouches. The world holds still. The wind stops moving. And then she jumps. Not a fall, not a stumble. A deliberate, powerful launch off the cliff with enough force to split stone. Her entire body arcs forward, slicing through the air. The wind roars past her, catching under her arms, brushing her fur back in a rippling wave. She doesn't dive. She soars as if only for a heartbeat. For the first time, she feels weightless. Free, the moon lights her silhouette, a silver wolf-shaped streak in midair, suspended between earth and sky. Below her, the world rushes upward. The ocean churns, the rocks wait with jagged patience, and she smiles as much as a wolf can, because she knows exactly what comes next. Her spine contracts, her legs tuck closer, her claws flare outward. At the last possible second, just before gravity's jaws can close around her, she shifts again, full wolf, full instinct, full power. Her muscles twist, her body elongates, the tail snaps into perfect balance. Her fur thickens, her limbs align for speed. She hits the rocky shoreline in a sprint, not a crash, her paws absorbing the impact like she was built from stone herself. Water explodes around her in a halo of silver sparks. She races across the rocks with impossible grace, claws carving grooves into stone. Her golden eyes catch the moonlight like twin suns. She runs fast, powerful, free her paws slapping the ground in a rhythm older than language, and the cliff watches her go. The runes dim slowly behind her. The wind, satisfied, returns to its natural chaos. The moon settles into its full height, but nothing up there is the same, because something ancient woke tonight, something old blood remembered, something the world had been waiting for. A she-wolf who didn't just shift, a she-wolf who rose. She stops at the shoreline, panting, steam rising from her fur. The tide washes over her paws. Her breath fogs in slow, powerful waves. A soft voice, hers, and not hers, whispers inside her skull. You were never meant to break. You were meant to awaken. Her ears swivel toward the cliff she left behind. Her human mind flickers just briefly, just enough to ache. But then the wolf steps forward again, claiming space in her heart, her breath, her bones. A low, resonant howl begins to build in her chest. She faces the moon. She widens her stance. She lifts her head and she howls. It's not a cry of fear, not a plea, not an apology to the life she left behind. It's a declaration, a coronation, a rebirth. Her voice slices through the night, echoing off the cliffside, carried by the wind to every corner of the coast. The ocean stills, the air chills. Even the moon seems to pause its eternal rise to listen. When the howl ends, she stands breathing heavily, her fur glowing faintly with residual magic. And in that moment, in the deep, quiet inhalation that follows, her human voice murmurs from beneath the wolf's breath. If you'd survive a leap like that, you'd run with me too. Final CTA whisper format. Integrated into narrative, she lowers her head, golden eyes narrowing. Then she turns toward the forest, toward the world, toward her future, and runs. And the night runs with her.